John Reynolds' life ended in a flash of pain and a surge of panic. As he lay on the hospital bed, surrounded by beeping machines and the frantic voices of doctors, he felt his consciousness slip away. The cancer had ravaged his body, leaving him a shell of the man he once was. In his final moments, he thought of his family, his wife Anna, and their 2 children, wishing he had more time with them. His vision faded to black, and for a brief moment, there was nothing but silence and darkness. Then a new sensation emerged: unawareness, a sense of being. John woke with a jolt, gasping for air. He found himself in an unfamiliar room, lying on a threadbare mattress. The room smelled musty, and the walls were covered in peeling wallpaper. Confused, he sat up and looked around. This wasn't the hospital. This wasn't his home. His heart raced as he stumbled to a cracked mirror on the wall. The face staring back at him was not his own. It was a rugged, unshaven visage with piercing blue eyes and a scar running down the left cheek. John touched his face, feeling the unfamiliar contours and rough stubble. Panic set in as he realized he was in someone else's body. A name surfaced in his mind: Marcus Blackwood. John didn't know how he knew the name, but it felt right. He tried to recall how he got here, but his memories were jumbled and fragmented. One thing was clear: this was not his life. John's initial confusion turned to horror as he explored the small apartment. The walls were adorned with newspaper clippings detailing gruesome murders, each headline more chilling than the last. Victims' photographs were pinned to a corkboard, along with notes and maps. John felt a sinking feeling in his stomach as he realized what this meant. He was in the body of a serial killer. Desperate to understand, he rifled through drawers and found a journal. Flipping through its pages, he discovered detailed accounts of each murder written in a meticulous hand. The entries were cold and detached, describing the killings as if they were scientific experiments. John recoiled in disgust, dropping the journal. He needed to get out, to find help, to figure out how this had happened. But as he reached for the door, a wave of nausea and dizziness overwhelmed him. He stumbled, clutching his head as a torrent of memories flooded his mind, memories that were not his own. Days turned into weeks as John grappled with his new reality. Every time he tried to leave the apartment, an unseen force seemed to pull him back. It was as if Marcus's will was still alive, fighting to keep control. John found himself blacking out, only to awaken covered in blood, with no recollection of what had happened. He couldn't control the urges, the compulsion to kill. It was as if Marcus's dark desires were embedded in his very soul, overpowering his own will. John tried to fight it, tried to resist, but the hunger was insatiable. The police were closing in, the net tightening around Marcus Blackwood. John knew it was only a matter of time before they caught him. He had to find a way to stop this, to break free from the curse that bound him to this monstrous life. In a moment of clarity, John remembered a story his grandmother used to tell him about a shaman who could cleanse souls. Desperate and with nothing left to lose, he sought out a local mystic, a woman named Madame Serena, known for her occult knowledge and healing powers. He found her in a small, dimly lit shop filled with the scent of incense and the sound of wind chimes. Madame Serena, an elderly woman with piercing eyes and an air of ancient wisdom, listened intently as John explained his plight. "You are bound by blood," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "The spirit of Marcus Blackwood is entwined with yours. To free yourself, you must confront the darkness within." She offered to perform a ritual, a cleansing of the soul. John agreed, willing to do anything to end the nightmare. The ritual took place that night, in a secluded clearing under the full moon. Madame Serena chanted in a language John didn't understand, her hands moving in intricate patterns as she sprinkled herbs and drew symbols in the dirt. As the ritual progressed, John felt a strange sensation, as if his very soul was being pulled apart. He saw visions of Marcus's life, his childhood filled with abuse and neglect, the moments that twisted him into a killer. He felt Marcus's rage, his pain and his twisted sense of justice. But he also saw glimpses of his own life, moments of love and kindness, the family he had lost. The contrast was stark, a battle between light and darkness. John realized that to free himself, he had to forgive Marcus, to find compassion for the monster he had become. With a final, powerful chant, Madame Serena completed the ritual. John collapsed to the ground, exhausted and drained. For a moment, everything was still. John woke to the sound of birds chirping and the warmth of the morning sun. He felt different, lighter somehow. Madame Serena helped him to his feet, her eyes kind and knowing. "It is done," she said softly. "The bond is broken." John felt a surge of relief, but also a pang of sorrow for Marcus. He knew that Marcus had been a victim too, shaped by a cruel world into something monstrous. Returning to the apartment, John found it empty, the evidence of Marcus's crimes gone. It was as if the darkness had been swept away, leaving only a sense of peace. John knew he couldn't return to his old life. He had to leave behind the memories of Marcus Blackwood and start anew. He moved to a small town, taking on a new identity, and finding work as a carpenter. The physical labor was therapeutic, helping him to rebuild not just furniture, but his own sense of self. He still thought of his family, of Anna and the children, but he knew he could never go back. It was better this way, for their safety and for his own peace of mind. He wrote them a letter, explaining that he had to leave, but that he loved them and would always watch over them from afar. Months passed, and John began to feel a sense of normalcy. He made friends in the community, finding solace in their simple, honest lives. But one night, as he was closing up his workshop, he felt a familiar chill run down his spine. Turning, he saw a figure standing in the shadows, a man with a rugged, unshaven face and piercing blue eyes. The scar on his left cheek caught the light, and John felt his heart stop. It was Marcus. "You can't escape me," Marcus said, his voice cold and menacing. "We are bound by blood, and that bond can never be broken." John realized with dawning horror that the ritual had not freed him, it had only given Marcus a way to manifest outside of his body. The true battle was just beginning, a fight for control over their shared existence. As Marcus stepped closer, John squared his shoulders, determination hardening his resolve. He would fight, not just for his own soul, but for the memory of the man he once was, and the family he had lost. The night was dark and full of whispers, but John was ready. The battle for his soul was far from over, but he would not give up. Not now, not ever. The days that followed were a test of wills. John found himself constantly on edge, aware of Marcus's presence lurking in the shadows, a dark reflection of himself. He couldn't allow Marcus to take control, but resisting the pull was exhausting. John sought help from Madame Serena once more. She explained that while the ritual had severed the initial bond, it had also given Marcus a foothold in the physical world. To truly rid himself of Marcus, John needed to confront the darkness within and come to terms with his own guilt and fears. Madame Serena suggested another ritual, one that would require John to enter a deep meditative state and face Marcus in the realm of the subconscious. It was risky, but John knew he had no other choice. The night of the ritual, John prepared himself mentally and physically. Madame Serena guided him through the process, helping him to focus his mind and enter a state of deep meditation. As he closed his eyes, he felt his consciousness slip away, descending into the depths of his own mind. He found himself in a dark, twisted landscape, a place where nightmares took form. The air was thick with a sense of dread, and shadows moved like living entities. In the distance, he saw a figure standing on a hill waiting for him. John approached, his heart pounding. As he got closer, he recognized Marcus, his face a mask of rage and hatred. "You can't defeat me," Marcus snarled. "I and you, we are one." John shook his head, summoning all his courage. "You are not me. You are a part of me, a dark part, but you do not define who I am." Marcus lunged at him, and the two clashed in a violent struggle. The landscape around them shifted and twisted, reflecting their inner turmoil. John fought with everything he had, determined to overcome the darkness that had plagued him. The battle seemed endless, but John refused to give up. He thought of his family, of the life he had lost and the new one he was trying to build. He drew strength from those memories, using them as a shield against Marcus's onslaught. In a moment of clarity, John realized that the key to defeating Marcus was not to fight him, but to accept him. He stopped struggling and opened his arms, embracing the darkness within. Marcus hesitated, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What are you doing?" "I'm accepting you," John said softly. "You are a part of me, but you do not control me." The shadows around them began to dissipate, and the landscape started to transform. The twisted, nightmarish world gave way to a place of light and peace. Marcus's form wavered, then dissolved, leaving John standing alone. John woke with a start, back in Madame Serena's shop. The room was filled with the soft glow of candlelight, and the scent of incense hung in the air. He felt different, lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from his soul. Madame Serena smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "You did it, John. You faced the darkness and emerged victorious." John thanked her, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. He knew that the journey wasn't over, but he was finally free from the shadow of Marcus Blackwood. He could move forward, unburdened by the darkness that had once consumed him. Life gradually returned to normal for John. He continued to work as a carpenter, finding joy in the simple act of creation. He built strong friendships in his new community, and found solace in their support. He never forgot the lessons he had learned or the darkness he had faced, but instead of fearing it, he used it as a source of strength, a reminder of his resilience and determination. One day, as he worked on a new project, a woman approached his workshop. She was slender, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Are you John?" she asked. John nodded, curious. "Yes, I am. How can I help you?" "I heard about your work and wanted to commission a piece," she said. "Something special for my home." As they discussed the project, John felt a connection with the woman, a sense of familiarity and warmth. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly hopeful about the future. As John walked the woman to the door, she paused and looked at him with a strange intensity. "I have a feeling you're going to do great things here, John," she said softly. John smiled, feeling a sense of peace. "Thank you. I hope so." As she left, he noticed a small scar on her left cheek, barely visible but unmistakable. A chill ran down his spine as he watched her walk away. The past may have been behind him, but its echoes lingered. John knew he had to stay vigilant, to protect the life he had fought so hard to reclaim. But he was ready, stronger and more determined than ever. The battle for his soul had been won, but the journey of redemption was just beginning. And John Reynolds was ready to face whatever came next, with courage and hope in his heart.